Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Thank you for tuning in. And today we'll be looking at the book of Psalms. So the book of Psalms is one of the most appreciated books in the whole entire Bible. There are other books as well that most people know about as much as they know about the Psalms. So today we'll be looking into it. We'll be looking at the book of Psalms, and more specifically, a certain chapter, right? So, just to give an overview of the book of Psalms, we can tell that the book of Psalms is a very poetic book written by not just King David, but other several people as well. One of them is Moses, the other one is the son of Korah, and then the other unknown people who wrote the book of Psalms, right? So now we're going to look at the poeticness of the chapter. It helps you as well to learn how to pray the book. When you have learned how to pray, or you want to pray but you don't know how, you can go through the book of Psalms and it will help you to be able to know how to pray, because it has every single basic, or rather any prayer that you need, or most people that they need. It's very important, especially when you are called, or you're a chosen person, which I believe that everyone is chosen. It's just that we are chosen in different paths or different situations. Some people are called into spiritual things, and then some people are called into physical things. Some people are called into metaphysics, which is like the mental part of things. Like the different callings that every one of us we have. So I believe that not every person is called into spiritual things, but it's important for us to know about them as much as physical things are important for us to know about them, because they also assist us in life. So the book of Psalms that we'll be looking at will be Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I have everything I need. He lets me rest in the fields of green grass and leads me to quiet pools of fresh water. He gives me new strength. He guides me in the right path as He has promised. Even though I go through the deepest darkness, I will not be afraid. Lord, you are with me. Your shepherd's rod and staff protect me. You prepare a banquet for me where all my enemies can see. You welcome me as an honored guest, and you fill my cup to the brim. I know that your goodness and love will be with me all my life, and your house will be my home as long as I live. With the Lord is my shepherd. So the word shepherd means leader, right? So the Lord is the one who's leading you and everyone who follows Him. And He leads us, in situations that we live in, in our experience in this life, Then He says, I shall not want, meaning that in whatever situation, the leader will always make sure that you have, you never need anything, you never lack, God, there's a word where it says that He is Jehovah Jireh, means the Lord my provider. So if someone is a shepherd, they make sure that they provide for you. You have what you need when they are shepherding you. So David expresses this not wanting part by saying, He leads me down in green pastures, meaning that he makes sure that his providence is always proper. His providence is always something good. His providence always makes sure that it is the healthiest of them all. And then he says, he leads me and to quiet waters, or he leads me beside quiet waters. Meaning that you don't just provide me with something that I can eat and at the same time I can rest. You understand? Because he says he makes me lie down in green pastures. Meaning that you can rest in his providence, He also, as you rest in his providence, he also makes sure that you can eat from his providence. So you're resting and eating at the same time from God's providence. And he makes sure that he leads you as well beside quiet waters. And for me, what I've learned is that the water indicates as well your emotions. So the way he provides for you, you always make sure that you have peace in your heart. You're always at peace with your spirit. You're always at peace because you know that God provides for you. He leads you beside quiet waters. And then he says, once he's giving you peace, once he's giving you the quiet waters that you need, he then restores my soul. He says, he restores my soul. So the quiet waters, they help you to be refreshed so that you can have your soul restored. And as I have expressed that the waters, they indicate your emotion. So when God has refreshed, has healed you with the waters that he has leaded you by, when he has given you the peace that you need, he then, that action, it helps you to have your soul restored. So he's restoring you with his action of leading you beside the still waters. Then he says, he lead me down the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Then other translation, they say he leads me down the right path. And I believe it says as well, for his name's sake. I think that's verse 6, if not verse 5. Meaning that as a shepherd, he makes sure that he directs you in a proper way. It could be giving you wisdom so that you can know how to direct or to take the path that is right. Because wisdom says, I will never mislead you. So it can mean that you can receive wisdom so that he leads you in the right path. He gives you your wisdom. The word says as well, give God your plans, and sometimes we have been taught so much, against the idea of having any plans because we think like, you know what, if I give God my plans, like God will just scatter them and give me his own plans, which means the plans that I have for myself, like God can scatter them, and then you become so cautious of going to him to help you with your plans because you feel like if I take them to God, then God will scatter them and give me another plan that is his, that seems hard or that is harder than what I hoped for myself. But he leads you down the path of righteousness. When you have learned to have that loving kindness relationship with God, where you understand that it's a dynamic of he directs you walk. It's like having a relationship with your parent. I know that sounds cliche, but it's like you can come to them and say, once you're older, you understand a bit. Look, this is what I have, or this is what I hope to have. Then God is like, oh, okay, so this is your plans. All right. So you wish them to be done, when, and then he looks at them, okay, they're good. They're not bad, but let me help you in that, for you to receive your plans. And then in other instances, it's like, okay, maybe something, needs to be tweaked a bit here and there. But other than that, it's good, You know, it's like a dynamic of whereby two people are co-creating the plan to come to pass. Do you understand? If the plan is not good, then it gets chucked out. But if the plan is good, then if it's good, then it gets kept and you're assisted. But I think most of us, we always have that, that doubt of our plans being good. But our plans are good, do you understand? And as much as they're not going to be in the same level as God's plans for our lives, and as long as we are not hurting anybody with those plans, we are actually showing love and grace to people through the plans that we have. Any plan that you have that has to do with helping people, I don't think God has an issue with it. I don't think God has an issue with it. If your plan for your life is to help people, I don't think God will have any issue with it. But there's so many factors to this. Let me not go too deep with it because, sometimes as people we have our own perception of God, and God has his truth. Like there's the truth about him, and then there's a perception that people have about God, and most of the time the perception is not clear, the perception is not true. It's just something that we've heard from people, and we haven't went through the experience to know that, oh no, okay, God is not as I thought he was, and God is not what I heard he was. He's totally different, and he's much more understanding, much more loving, much more kind, much more pleased, and much more open than how I perceived him to be. And he is less condemning, or he's correcting but not condemning at all. There's those things. So those are the right paths, for example, about how God could lead you. And then he says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. So those are the parts where we are now going through challenges. Now we're going through attacks. Now we're going through all these things that are just not okay. When the shepherd is there, he says, I will fear no evil, because David says, I will fear no evil because, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil because you are with me. How many times God has said, I am with you. I am close to those who are brokenhearted. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burnt. When you walk through the river, you will not drown. When you walk through the waters, when you walk through the rivers, you will not be swept. Excuse me, sorry. When you walk through the waters, you will not be drowned. All those things, God is saying, I am with you. He says in Psalm 91, that was written by, I believe, King David or Moses, between the two. He says, he will call upon me and I'll answer him. I will be with him in trouble, towards the end. So, God in so many accounts, he says, I am with you. His rod and his staff will always be there to make sure that we're comfortable. When you look at a shepherd, you see that he has a staff with him. So meaning that whatever war or challenge that comes, he's always, able to fight it off, prepared to fight it off. It's not something that when it catches him off guard, not saying that God would, I'm talking from a human perspective, he's always having something to fight off those challenges for the sheep, meaning that God will always be ready to fight for you no matter what. He will always be ready to fight for you. That's why when he has his rod, meganethusi lakhe, nobhoko lakhe noma nodondolo lakhe. You find peace. When he has his rod, you find peace. When he has his staff, you find peace, because no matter what happens, I will always have a being so beautiful, but so amazing to fight for me. To fight for me. When the wolves come, they can come as many as they can, but I know that the shepherd will lead me in the right path, and his staff and his rod will be his tools that he will use to fight for me. And then he says, the way he's taking care of then he says in another verse, he prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Now that is exaltation. Now God is not just providing, he's exalting the sheep, because he has gone with the sheep this whole entire path to a point of exalting the sheep. Before the enemies, it goes back to the point of he makes me lie down in green pastures. So as you are laying down in the green pastures, you are being prepared a table in front of your enemies, the wolves around you that have been seeking to devour you. They can't, because they know that the shepherd is there, and they see you eat from the table that God has prepared. Then there's another point that I learned from that part, that he prepares a table in the presence of my enemies. I want to share it, but I choose to share it in another video, because I feel like it has to do with your heart, Then it says as well, he anoints my head with oil, my cup overflows. He's giving you rich blessings throughout, making sure that you would never ever need. He has left that animalification. He went to personification now with David. My cup, only a human being uses a cup. He left the animalification part, and now he's going to a human part. So David has indicated the humbleness of following the shepherd and the exaltation of the shepherd, of the sheep. The humbleness of the sheep and the exaltation of the sheep under the shepherd's guidance, leadership. Then he says, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord, or as I dwell in the house of the Lord, meaning that only goodness and mercy can find you in the house of the Lord. And only a house is a house of the Lord. One, by prayer, and number two, most importantly, by his presence. So we can say that you're in the house of the Lord when you, number one, pray. When you, number two, you're in his presence. And his presence is omnipotent. I'm not teaching you not to go to church, but I'm saying, or I'm not leading you to say, be reluctant of church, but when you pray and you have God's presence, you're in the house of the Lord. There's another translation when it goes to Psalm 91 where it says, instead of he who dwells in the shelter of the Most High, it says whoever goes to the Lord for safety. So the presence of God is the house of God. you know. How be it that God likes us, the body, to dwell in as his temple. Let me not go too deep with that. But surely goodness and mercy shall follow you when you pray and you invite, or you keep on following the presence, or where the presence of God is, or you invite the presence of God, or you ask for the presence of God, to be with you, or you always visit God ngomthandazo, by going to him. You can find the presence of God by going to him and praying. So surely goodness and mercy will follow you all the days of your life, and you dwell in the house of the Lord, for he is your shepherd. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for listening thus far. God bless you.